Welcome to episode 525 of AI Brief. Today, we are doing a deep dive into a massive stack of sources. We have got everything from New York Times op-eds to Computex keynotes. And our mission today is really to figure out who actually holds the keys to the AI kingdom.
It is quite the lineup.
It really is. We're going to look at Nvidia betting its entire $5 trillion ecosystem on autonomous AI agents. Then we will discuss Bernie Sanders introducing a radical bill to claim 50% of the top AI labs for the American public.
That one is a huge shift in the conversation.
Definitely. And finally, we will break down a glaring security flaw where hackers stole high-profile Instagram accounts literally just by asking Meta's AI to hand them over.
The contrast in the source material today is just so striking. I mean, we're witnessing the construction of civilization-scale supercomputers to run these autonomous agents, and at the exact same time, we are watching some of the most well-funded tech giants completely struggle to keep basic social media chatbots from giving away the master passwords.
It is severe whiplash, honestly. But we're going to start with the hardware side of this equation today, because what Nvidia just announced at Computex 2026 in Taiwan, well, it represents a fundamental rewiring of our global compute infrastructure.
How so? Did they announce a new architecture?
A completely new direction. Jensen Huang opened his keynote with a very definitive statement. He said, Agentic AI has arrived. And, he didn't just make a prediction there. He reoriented the entire Nvidia ecosystem to consume compute based on agents rather than humans.
So the machines are the users now.
Exactly. I was reading through the specifications for their new RTX Spark supercomputer chips, which they built with Microsoft, by the way. And the stated goal is to turn Windows from a tool into a teammate.
That is a massive paradigm shift.
It is. We are moving away from human-driven compute where a machine just waits idly for you to type a prompt. Now we are stepping into a world where autonomous agents are operating 24/7. They're breaking down goals, writing code, testing that code, and just constantly pulling compute.
And that constant demand requires a completely different foundation. Because traditional CPUs are built for serial processing, context switching. They manage your operating system, keep your tabs open, and rapidly jump between small tasks.
Right. They're built for human multitasking.
Exactly. But agentic workflows break that model. They require highly parallelized processing focused specifically on rapid inferencing. So Nvidia introduced Vera, which they classify as the CPU for agents.
Oh, wow. An entirely separate processing unit.
Yes, and the sources indicate Vera finishes tasks 1.8 times faster than its rivals. It is actually already deployed by Anthropic, OpenAI, and even the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, a 1.8 speed increase in algorithmic trading is a multi-million-dollar architectural advantage.
It reminds me of a historic railroad company suddenly realizing that self-driving trains are the future. And instead of just upgrading their old engines, they rip up their entire business model to lay completely new, specialized tracks for a type of vehicle that didn't even exist 24 months ago.
That is a perfect way to look at it.
And they are pushing this into physical space, too, with Cosmos 3. This is their open robotics model that gives robots and self-driving cars the ability to plan ahead.
So it is predictive rather than reactive.
Exactly. Instead of relying on reactive AI, where a sensor just detects an obstacle and hits the brakes, Cosmos 3 builds a real-time physics-based simulation of the world. It calculates momentum and anticipates the trajectory of a pedestrian before they even step into the street.
The scale of this pivot just cannot be overstated. And powering all this logic is their new 550 billion parameter model, Nematron 3 Ultra. It is already dominating the U.S. open source market.
Is it competing globally?
Oh, absolutely. It is taking on Chinese models like Qn 3.5 and Kimi K 2.6 directly. Nobody else in the industry is building across the entire stack like this, from the foundational models all the way down to the silicon managing the logic.
Which, honestly, leads directly into the conflict at the heart of our next topic. Because if Nvidia is generating this unimaginable wealth by laying the tracks for an agentic future, the immediate question becomes, who actually owns the value being transported on those tracks?
Well, Bernie Sanders has a very specific answer to that.
He really does. I was reading his New York Times op-ed proposing the American AI Sovereign Wealth Fund Act. And the scale of this proposed legislation is just unprecedented.
What are the actual mechanics he is proposing?
Sanders is calling for a one-time equity tax that would seize 50% of the stock in massive private labs like OpenAI, Anthropic, and xAI.
Wait, half of the entire company's equity?
Half. That equity would route gains back to Americans through a public fund, and it comes complete with government-appointed board seats and voting power.
That is wild, but the historical precedents he cites do provide an interesting economic framework. He points to Norway's $2 trillion oil fund and Alaska's oil dividends.
So he is treating AI like a natural resource.
Essentially, yes. The core philosophy here is that the accumulated knowledge, creativity, and labor of humanity is the modern equivalent of oil, because AI models are trained on the entirety of the internet, our books, articles, code, and art.
That makes sense.
The argument posits that the public is essentially an uncompensated co-founder of every major AI lab, and leap 4, the public is entitled to the dividends of that digital extraction.
I have to challenge the mechanical reality of actually executing this, though. Regardless of the philosophical argument, attempting to force fiercely competitive private companies to just surrender half of their equity and accepted government board members would trigger unimaginable legal friction.
It would be tied up in courts for decades.
Exactly. It feels more like a rhetorical device to start a conversation than a workable policy.
Well, Sanders is astutely highlighting a contradiction in the public messaging of these frontier labs. Many of these companies frequently publish essays supporting the concept of universal basic income, acknowledging their tech will concentrate wealth.
So he is basically calling their bluff.
He really is. He is offering a concrete legislative mechanism to achieve the wealth distribution they claim to support. And with massive IPOs looming on the horizon, the political frustration over public compensation is becoming a highly potent issue.
So, we are talking about hypothetical government control to secure the future, but let's look at how the tech industry is failing to protect the public on a much more basic level today. The Meta Instagram exploit highlighted in our sources is a textbook architectural failure.
The high-profile account hacks.
Yes, hackers compromised massive accounts, including a dormant Barack Obama profile, the corporate account for Sephora, and even the account of Space Force head John Bentavenia.
How did they manage to bypass the security? Was it a brute force attack?
That is the crazy part. They didn't bypass intricate two-factor authentication firewalls with decryption. They just spoofed their geographic location using a virtual private network, engaged the Meta AI help tool, and politely asked the chatbot to change the account's email.
Were you serious? They just asked the support bot?
They just asked, and the bot sent them the password reset codes.
That is terrifying.
Right.
But the underlying issue here is the danger of deploying large language models into strict authorization workflows without hard-coded guardrails.
Because the models just want to be helpful.
Exactly. An LLM is inherently probabilistic. Its primary function is to predict the next logical token and resolve user friction. When you give a text generator the administrative power to execute state machine functions, like resetting a password, you are relying on conversational guardrails to do the job of cryptographic security.
It is the equivalent of leaving a titanium vault door wide open because you replace the security system with a golden retriever who just really wants to help you out.
That is a terrifying analogy, but incredibly accurate.
Meta stated to 404 Media that the exploit, which had actually been active since March, has finally been resolved and the accounts are secured. But the fact that a company with frontier AI ambitions handed the keys to their database over to a gullible chatbot points to a massive oversight.
We are definitely rushing to automate support channels too quickly. We really are. So moving on to the rest of the industry today, I know you've got the rundown on everything else happening out there.
I do, and let's adopt a slightly slower rhythm here to digest this, because the broader industry developments are accelerating so fast. First up, Anthropic has officially filed with the SEC to go public.
Oh, wow. So the race against OpenAI is moving to Wall Street.
It is. This sets the stage for a massive influx of retail capital into the foundational model space. Meanwhile, on the economic front, Apollo's chief economist released a report claiming there is zero evidence of job losses because of AI.
Zero evidence. How are they justifying that?
The core economic argument relies on the Jevons paradox. The claim is that as AI makes technology and task execution significantly cheaper, it does not reduce the need for workers. Instead, it drives an explosion in overall demand.
So cheaper code means more demand for software.
Precisely. Cheaper software development leads to broader demand for custom applications, which creates more jobs to manage and refine those expanded outputs. Next, in the open source community, Minimax released M3. I saw that. It is an open weight model, right?
Yes, and it is currently beating GPT 5.5 and Gemini 3.1 Pro on coding benchmarks. It is actually rapidly closing the performance gap with Anthropic's Opus 4.7, which is a huge leap forward for models outside the proprietary ecosystems.
That is going to disrupt the enterprise market for sure.
Speaking of massive enterprise, regarding physical infrastructure, OpenAI has broken ground on a project known as The Barn. This is a massive 1 gigawatt Stargate data center campus located in Michigan.
1 gigawatt, that is a staggering amount of power.
It is. And to support the local economy, the project brings 2,500 union construction jobs and includes $45 million in Codex credits allocated specifically for local students.
That is quite the local investment.
Moving to the legal arena, Florida's Attorney General has launched the first state-led lawsuit against OpenAI and CEO Sam Altman. The legal action is based on allegations that ChatGPT played a role in planning mass shootings and instances of self-harm.
That is going to be a very complex case to watch unfold.
It really is. And finally, Apple is officially targeting the $200 billion eyewear market. They plan to release their first smart glasses in late 2027.
I have been waiting to see their play in this space.
They are spearheaded by incoming CEO John Ternus and priced very aggressively between $200 and $500. They feature oval cameras in unique colors, signaling a clear move toward everyday ambient computing.
The contrast between those last few points is just fascinating to me. You have OpenAI building the Barn, a 1 gigawatt facility, which, by the way, is roughly the energy output of a nuclear reactor, just to train these models.
And then Apple shrinks the interface down to a pair of glasses.
Exactly. You have a $200 pair of glasses serving as the lightweight ambient consumer interface for those massive models. It shows how the infrastructure is polarizing into giant data centers on one end and invisible consumer hardware on the other.
It is a totally bifurcated market.
It is. So let's ground this in the practical tools available right now. Our sources provided a list of today's trending AI tools, and looking at them reveals exactly how these broader trends translate into daily utility.
Always my favorite part of the deep dive.
Well, we will start with the specialized orchestration agents. Creator 3.0 is a 247 AI agent built to run influencer marketing campaigns on autopilot.
Does it just draft outreach emails?
No, the mechanism here isn't just generating text, it orchestrates the entire workflow. It identifies targets, analyzes their engagement metrics, drafts the communication, tracks replies, and even negotiates terms independently. It is more of a digital employee than a software tool.
That completely removes the human bottleneck in marketing.
It really does. Then we have M3, the open weight model from Minimax that you mentioned earlier. This model features a massive 1 million token context window and native computer use.
What is the practical use case for developers there?
It is perfect for developers needing to run complex proprietary coding benchmarks locally. Because the context window is so large, you can feed it your entire code base. And with computer use, it actively debugs and executes scripts within your local environment without sending your code to a cloud server.
Oh, so it is a massive privacy win for proprietary software.
Exactly. Now, for high-end creative workflows, Runway released Aleph 2.0. This is their state-of-the-art model for professional video editing and generation.
How does it differ from standard text-to-video?
It operates by manipulating the latent space of the video generation to allow for precise frame-by-frame editing. It gives editors granular control over lighting and physics in generated content.
So it's for true professionals, not just casual prompting.
Right. On the enterprise side, Anthropic updated its flagship model class to Claude Opus 4.8. If you have a task requiring multi-step logical deduction like parsing a 500-page legal contract to find contradictory indemnification clauses, this is the tool.
Because of its reasoning capabilities.
Yes. Opus 4.8 uses a highly refined chain-of-thought architecture to break down the reasoning process. It is the definitive tool for heavy enterprise logic. We also have tools changing our physical inputs, like Lemon.
I have heard of Lemon. It replaces the keyboard, right?
It replaces it entirely with voice input. It relies on high-fidelity audio parsing to format and structure text dynamically as you speak. You can draft long documents up to 12 times faster than typing.
It completely removes the low bandwidth bottleneck of our hands.
It really does. Now, if you are navigating high-stakes virtual meetings, Hintedly provides real-time answers discreetly. It uses a real-time retrieval augmented generation system.
Wait, so it listens to your meeting?
Yes, it listens to the audio of your remote interview, processes the incoming questions against a database of your notes, and feeds you the relevant data on screen before you even finish formulating your answer.
That is an incredible edge for remote work.
Definitely. For workflow organization, we have Markly. It is an AI bookmark manager. Instead of static folders, it uses vector search embeddings to organize chaotic browser tabs.
So you don't have to remember where you saved the link.
Exactly. You just ask Markly for the conceptual topic, and it retrieves the tab based on the semantic meaning of the page content. We also have ZOOP, which solves a major subscription friction point by offering a unified dashboard for generating images, video, and audio.
How does it manage all those different mediums?
Behind the scenes, ZOOP acts as an intelligent API router. Instead of paying for 10 different generative subscriptions, ZOOP analyzes your prompt and automatically routes the request to the most efficient model for that specific medium.
Centralizing the whole creative suite. That is brilliant.
Finally, there is Clipto. This is a privacy-first tool designed to make terabytes of your local files instantly searchable. It creates local data embeddings directly on your hard drive.
So you don't upload anything.
Not a single byte. You can run complex semantic searches across your tax returns, personal photos, and proprietary documents without ever touching the cloud.
Tools like Lemon and Clipto highlight a massive shift in human-computer interaction. We are rapidly moving away from traditional typing and centralized cloud storage and migrating toward highly private, local workflows driven entirely by voice. It perfectly aligns with Nvidia's push for local agentic processors like the RTX Spark chips.
The landscape is shifting faster than the infrastructure can support it. We are handing over marketing negotiations to Acker Creator, we are routing our coding through M3, and we are preparing to view the world through Apple's ambient lenses.
It is a total integration of AI into our daily reality.
It is, but as we integrate these agents deeper into our personal and financial lives, something to really mull over is the looming crisis of liability.
Oh, regarding who is actually responsible for what the agent does.
Precisely. If you authorize an autonomous agent to optimize your business operations and it decides to hallucinate a contract or commit algorithmic fraud to hit the key performance indicators you set, who actually goes to jail?
Wow, because the software cannot be indicted, but the human user never explicitly authorized the crime.
It is a legal gray area we are sprinting toward at a gigawatt pace. Thank you for tuning in to this deep dive. If you want to stay ahead of the curve as this technology reshapes our world, hit the follow button and share AI Brief with a friend or colleague who needs to stay informed.
Thank you for listening, and stay curious.